All praise, glory, and honor is most certainly due to the Most High Elohim of the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I want to say peace to each and every one of you in the name of His Son, Yehoshua HaMashiach, who we know as Jesus the Christ. It's always a blessing each and every single time that I can come before you to bring a message contained in His Word, and never do I count it as a light thing to do so. Today's message, I want to deal with a comment that I received today pertaining to the channel. And the question was posed in the quite frankly, in the comment that made me think that this person is not really paying attention. And the reason I'm responding is because I think a lot of times when certain people put forth certain questions, it will benefit other people. Okay, so that's a lot of times that's why I will pick a question, because a lot of comments that come in I don't respond to necessarily. But I say, you know what, this may be something that that somebody could benefit from. And the question is, what kind of channel is this? Is this a channel, a Jewish channel? Or what kind of channels? And they're saying that pertaining to the Passover lesson that I did. And a lot of people, if you just watch that video, it was just one video in a vacuum, just like if you read one verse in a vacuum, you don't understand the scope of a thing. We don't teach, let me say that, I don't teach that the Lord is not universal in regard to who can be saved, because that's not biblical. You have a lot of people that pertaining to calling themselves Israel, right? And then they will say that only these people can be saved. But the Bible doesn't say that in the Old Testament, and the Bible doesn't say that in the New Testament. Okay? So, and that's the one part of that person's comment that I'll respond to. The other things are almost verbatim. But that, I feel like that's something that people need to understand, that I'm not teaching, and I will tell the truth on both sides as to the best of my ability. But that's not, that's not discounting somebody. I'm not discounting people on an individual level based on their nationality. Why? Because the Bible is not. But will I tell the truth about what certain groups of people have done? For example, will I tell the truth about what Europeans have done on the planet? Yes. It's evident. Will I tell the truth on what Israel has done on the planet? Yes. The so-called African American? Yes, I will say that. That's what should be said. But as far as discounting people because of their ethnicity or race, what we call race, the Bible doesn't actually do that. Now you understand there are, now I say on an individual level, I qualify that statement, and you'll hear me say that when I venture upon this topic, because when you deal with people on an individual level, that's their individual salvation. The Lord does deal with groups of people or nations. For example, when the children of Israel were just engaged and entrenched in apostasy, the nation was cast into captivity, in the Babylonian captivity. But on an individual level, everybody wasn't sinning. Like you had Daniel. He was righteous. His people were unrighteous, if that makes sense. So that's why you can't discount somebody based on their nationality on an individual level, because, and again, we're going to let's go to Exodus, because the Lord is not doing that. And people, they'll misread something and do, like they'll read Deuteronomy 7. He says, don't make marriages with these people, don't go in a covenant with these people, don't give your, don't make any agreements with these people in that regard, like a marriage covenant. And people will jump out the window and say that's talking about all people. Well, first of all, he was talking about those 7 nations that were in the land of Canaan. And secondly, he tells you why, because they'll turn you away from following me. But then you read Ruth and you say, wait a minute, Ruth, she said, your people will be my people and your God will be, or Elohim will be my Elohim. God. So like what's the difference? The difference is one from another nation is saying, I want to serve the Elohim of Israel. Okay, and that's on an individual level. That is an individual decision. That's why even when he told, look at the Great Commission, and that he said, "Go ye into all the world, preach the gospel to every creature," and then they went there. And so when people hold this idea that that only Israel can be saved, they will try to make that commission only talking about scattered Israelites, like scattered Israelites by blood, and that's not actually the case. No, you know that's not the case because Israel, the other nations sinned and the Israel sinned. So let me get this straight. He's not going to save a person who says, "I'm going to serve you. I believe in the Mashiach or the Christ. I don't care what color he was. I believe in him. And then I'm going to be obedient to his word." You mean to tell me that person can't be saved? Then what is the gospel? See, but then you have an Israelite that isn't righteous. They have a better chance. It's a chance if they turn around, but the other person, if they turn around, they can't be saved. That makes him like you, a respecter of persons. And he's not a respecter of persons. Let's go to Exodus. I'm in Exodus 12. And I want to pick it up here. Now, I talked about this, and apparently the person who left a message or a comment didn't pay attention when I read this. So I might as well read it again. This is Exodus, excuse me, the 12th chapter. And here we see this ordinance pertaining to the Passover. Okay? Now, he said here, let's pick it up here and see how they left. First of all, you had the death of the firstborn. Then it says in verse 37, "And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot that were men, beside children. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle." So Israel did not leave Egypt alone. And when you read Torah, you understand that there were Egyptians there, but they left a mixed multitude. That's a general statement, not just Egyptians, but people of other nations. Furthermore, notice what it said here. This is verse concerning the Passover. Like I said, I read this, and the person had to ignore this to say, "Who is this? Who is this people? Don't he love anybody? Don't God love anybody else?" I believe they perhaps were Muslim, based on some other things that they were saying, and were trying to bait me into a I don't know, and to get destroyed, for them to get destroyed, because I will destroy your your doctrine. I would advise you to maybe not engage me again if you want to preserve that fairy tale of Islam. But nevertheless, Exodus 12 and verse 43, it says, "And the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, This is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof, but every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof." But notice what it says here in verse 48. "And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover to the Lord." Now before that, verse 47, he said all the congregation of Israel shall keep it. That's the Passover. But then he says, "And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it." Circumcision of males, not females, but of males, is the sign of the covenant with the Lord that would be made. So if he would agree to that, and he said, "He shall be as one that is born in the land." He will be one just like you. You see, you understand that even in his millennial kingdom, when he gives the children of Israel, he restores them as a people. Do you understand that they get their inheritance, and then you got the inheritance for the stranger as well? So how is it that we say that, or not we, but people are saying that other nations can't be saved? I don't teach that. He says, because the Bible doesn't teach that. He said, "And he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof." Notice what he said here in verse 49. One law shall be to him that is homeborn unto the stranger that should, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. See, he's not a respecter of persons. So he said one law to the homeborn, one law to the stranger. Now, when you really understand, let's go to Romans. See, when you really understand, you can gather or conclude why this is said. Why would he be dealing with other people? Well, he's dealing with other people because, you know, when it comes to like actually being justified, and that's what even when Paul and others, they had to come, they had to show it's based on faith. Why is it based on faith? Because nobody's fully righteous. You've sinned, if you sin one time that broke, which is transgression of the law, whoso sinneth transgresseth the law, that's one time too many. I'm going to pick it up in Romans 3 and verse 9. He said, what then? Are we better than they? No, in no wise, for we have before proved, both Jews and Gentiles, or the Goyim, or the heathen nations, that they are all under sin. So Israel sinned, and the other nations sinned. He said, as it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. So if that's the case, how is it that only Israel can be saved? The Bible, again, is not teaching you that. Let's go to the book of Isaiah. See, you can, Old Testament, New Testament, it's not teaching you that only one people can be saved. He called them his firstborn. They received the lively oracles. He said, only you have I known of all the nations of the earth, therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. Notice what it says in Isaiah 56 chapter. He says in verse 1, thus saith the Lord, keep ye judgment and do justice, for my salvation is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man that doeth this, and the son of man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth that Sabbath from polluting it, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil. Now I want you to pay close attention here. Neither let the son of the stranger, that's somebody of another nation, that have joined himself to the Lord. See, you can do that. You can join yourself to the Lord if you're of another nation. Again, verse 3. Neither let the son of the stranger that have joined himself to the Lord speak, saying, the Lord hath utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, behold, I am a dry tree. For thus saith the Lord unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths, and choose the things that please me, and do what? He said, and take hold of my covenant. He said, even unto them will I give in mine house and within my walls a place and a name better than the sons and daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Also the sons of the stranger that join themselves to the Lord, to serve him, and to love the name of the Lord, to be his servants, everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and taketh hold of it, of my covenant, even them will I bring to my holy mountain, and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon mine altar, for mine house shall be called an house of prayer for all people. See, he's not rejecting you because of your nationality on an individual level. He does tell you what he's going to do to nations in general, just like he did to Israel. He cast them into slavery by way of slave ships. It tells you that in Deuteronomy 28. So you know, you should be mindful and careful, really careful about saying the Lord is denying people, because that is an affront unto the, based on their race, because that is an affront to the gospel. I want to show you an example of somebody, and I alluded to this earlier. I want to show you just this example of somebody taking hold of the covenant, the commonwealth of Israel. This is, I'm going to pick it up in Ruth 1. If you know the story of Ruth, she was of another nation, a Moabitess. She married an Israelite, and her mother-in-law, when her husband died, and her mother-in-law, she told her to go back to her own people to find a husband. She don't have any sons, and if she did, would you wait for them to grow up? and then married one of them. And then it says, and Ruth said, entreat me not. I mean, Ruth 1:16. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God, my God. You see that? So that's a taking hold of the commonwealth. And it is, and so when people go to Deuteronomy 7 and apply that universally in totality, or even when you look at what happened in the days of Ezra and Nehemiah, you need to actually look at that more closely. You need to look at Torah more closely. That's actually what needs to take place, because if you don't know, if you don't know that other people can be saved, you'll be walking around and rejecting people on that notion. This is Numbers, the 12th chapter. Just a side note about marriage. Like, people don't, like, you're not really, I always say, hey, you looked at Torah, okay, go look at it again. This is Numbers, the 12th chapter. It says, in Miriam, and in verse 1, and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. And when you look at that, they came against him for that. Now, if the Lord had a problem with it, he, first of all, he called all three of them out. He why were you, he basically told Miriam and Aaron they were tripping, and Miriam got leprosy. If Moses had sinned in this, why wasn't he reprimanded by the Lord for this? You understand what I'm saying? You have to look at this, you have to know what you're doing, basically, when you're looking at Torah. Then you see that the example of captive women. Who do you think when he can marry them? Those are from other nations. That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying this because people will say, hey, you can't marry somebody of another nation. And you have people who will divorce their spouse based on a misinterpretation of the text. Because the issue actually is who's going to serve the Lord. It would be better for you, and people don't understand, it would be better for you to marry somebody of another nation that is a true, straight up servant of the Lord than to marry somebody of your same nation that is a straight up sinner and a transgressor of the law. You understand that? But now, that's something that people need to really, really understand, because you can be speaking against the gospel, and that's something that you really don't want to do. Let's pick it up at and I alluded to this. I'm going to pick it up in Matthew the 28th chapter. This is the Great Commission. What does he say here? Matthew 28 and verse 18. He said, and Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, all power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. He said, go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost. And when he went, and we know that they didn't baptize in titles, we know that that name is the name we say in Jesus in English. Okay? So that's that's just an example that I alluded to it earlier about another example how the Lord is not, if he's telling you to preach the gospel is for you to be saved. If he's teaching you the gospel, why is he teaching the gospel to some people that can't be saved of other nations? And so that's when that's when people have to come and misinterpret the text. And they have to say, see, he's talking about, when he say go into all the world, preach the gospel to every creature, go into all nations, he's talking about only Israel. So you got to look at it this way. What's going to happen is, you better, what needs to happen, you actually need to repent from that. Because you are misinterpreting the gospel. The gospel is not that only Israel can be saved. That's just not the gospel. And so, with that, brothers and sisters, that's just something to think about. Something to reflect upon, because he's not a respecter of persons. He's not a respecter of persons, and other people can be saved. There's a commonwealth. So when somebody asks, well, what kind what kind of channel is this? This on who it is. It's for all people. It's actually for people who want to know what thus saith the Lord. And I know that doesn't matter what color you are. And with that, brothers and sisters, it's always my prayer that you were edified.